Hey, everyone. I'm Becca, he's Matt, and this is Becca's Book Club Adventure.
Hello, and welcome back. I know in a recent episode we were kind of talking about Delilah a little bit. How's the potty training going? Has there been any progress?
Don't jinx it. We're doing pretty good over here. So, sometimes you just need to give people more grace and a little extra time. But I have really, really exciting news that I need to share.
Ooh, hit me.
So I finally took my training from the road to the woods. We are officially trail running.
All right.
And it will not stop raining. So I'm really just mushroom hunting. And I now have like 300 photos of mushrooms on my phone.
What got you into the fascination of the mushrooms? What is it? Are they just cool to look at, or what's prompted that?
Yeah, I've always thought that they're really funny and quirky. They come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. They grow from they're all funguses. They grow on different woods. They grow on different materials and different conditions, and they produce different things, right? So like from a pharmacologic standpoint, some of them are really tasty and good to eat and healthy to eat and have maybe beneficial effects for your mood and brain. And then other ones are just straight up poisonous, and others are gonna make you trip. You first off have to know exactly what type of mycology you're working with before you consume it. So please, do not eat mushrooms unless you know what you're doing. But also, I think that's the fascination.
When are you going to take that step? When are you going to start picking them and taking them home? No.
I don't know.
I don't know. That's fun. I know it's not been raining, so like, are the trails like super muddy? How is that?
Yeah, so the trails I've been running on are mountain biking trails, and so they've been kind of well maintained, but then obviously you have divots where there's pooling water. And so that's also the fun of trail running, because you can't do anything about your pace, your gait, you're like frolicking in the woods, basically.
Yeah.
Because you have to step over puddles.
I think I saw you post something recently, and I want you to kind of explain this to me. It kind of goes with the trail running. There's some rule. There's like a 25-3 or something.
Yeah.
Theory or rule. What is? I'd never heard of that before. Throw it at me.
Yeah, so I think it's 25 and then 3, and we'll maybe put up something to fix this. It's a theory based off of how much time you should be spending outside in nature to help improve your mental health, other things, blah, 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 blah. And the goal, so you're supposed to spend 20 minutes outside 3 times a week, and that can be like outside on your back deck, a local metro park. Like, it doesn't need to be a nice outside, just not in your house or your home. And then the 5 is the next one, is like time is 5 times, can't remember if it was a month or 5 times a year that you need to spend at a larger park, like a state park, a national park, where you can really get in touch with nature and be outside for an extended period of time. So I think it's 5 hours a month. That's what it is. It's 5 hours a month that you need to target being outside a little bit deeper, connecting with nature. And then the 3, I think it's hard, but I'm willing to work on it, is 3 days in the back country with no access to things. And so Kevin and I have backpacked like a little bit. I haven't done more than a night. But I do find it interesting and incredibly soothing, even though it's literally the worst nights of sleep I've ever had.
I think that's really good. I mean, I definitely get the 20 minutes loads because I have to go outside and mow the yard and weed things and deadhead the rose bushes and whatever. So I'm going to work on the more as well. You got the trail running and everything, but I think I have a way for me to do the 3 days completely sequestered. So but I doubt anybody else that may stumble across this knows, I'm a stupid big Dave Matthews Band person. Almost to the point of it's quasi embarrassing, I'm sure. But Elizabeth took me to see them when they came to Columbus back in November of 2024, right? And she was really sick. She had like the flu or something during the concert, but she put on a brave face because it was my birthday. And thank you, Elizabeth. So I was like, you know what? It was an indoor concert because it was November, and I was like, indoor is not. It's just not the same to be confined to a seat. So I was like, I got to take you to an outdoor concert, right? So in June of 2025, this year, we went to see them in Cincinnati when they came, and you and Kevin came with us. But once again, Elizabeth got a little bit sick because she was not used to certain smells that upset her stomach. And um, and then of course you didn't feel all that awesome either. Blah 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 blah. So I was like, okay, Elizabeth, we're gonna try one more time. And in the middle of July, I last minute bought us tickets to their show at Deer Creek outside of Indianapolis. And that was the Dave Matthews Band concert that I needed her to go to. It was sort of kind of like Woodstock. We made friends like that, like just the people that parked their car next to ours. We became best friends, and they partied with us all night. And Elizabeth, anyways, what I'm trying to get to is Elizabeth got the bug. She got the DMB bug.
Yes.
Okay, so how can I help with this 25-3 rule? Okay, so there every summer, Dave Matthews Band has what the fans refer to as the meat leg of the tour. And what what this means is for about 2, maybe 3 weeks, Dave Matthews Band does 2-night stands at places like Deer Creek, Saratoga Springs, Guilford, New Hampshire, right, Camden, New Jersey, and then it always culminates with a 3-night stay at the Gorge out in out west. But what's special about these places and why they do 2-night stands is that the vast majority of these places have it's a amphitheater with built-in camping, but there's like no amenities, right? It's camping. I guess you'll have your car next to you, but it's camping. So I kind of got Elizabeth to agree that we're gonna do that. We're gonna go camping and just walk to the concert both nights, and we're gonna follow the band, because what the band does is they'll do like a Friday, Saturday, and then they'll do a Tuesday, Wednesday, then they'll do a Friday, Saturday, then a Tuesday, Wednesday, then a Friday, Saturday, they'll do that for like 3 weeks. And so people take like 10 days off of work and they get in their car and they just go camping for two weeks, and they just followed the band around. Anyway, so I convinced your sister to do that with me. So I think that's how we can get 3 days kind of closer to being unplugged. I don't think it's the same as being actually remote, which I think is what the 25-3 calls for. But for us city folk, I think it'll be closer to the thing.
Yes, getting in touch with nature is important, but also I think sometimes getting away from a lot of these high amenities that we have helps you kind of step back and realize how fortunate you are to have some of these things. You know, living in Athens and knowing people who, I mean, you guys lost your water recently, right? So, like, you know, it rains, a pipe burst, you don't have water, you can't shower until it's fixed, right? So, like, basic human needs are really important, and sometimes we take those for granted, I think.
Yeah, we definitely do. Yeah, I had a pipe burst last spring, and we had like a river running out of the ceiling, and we had a big knee-jerk reaction to that. And anyways, long story short, we had the wall completely taken down, and we had all of the copper piping in our house gutted, except for this one tiny copper elbow joint, because it's encased in wood, and they were going to have to take all the cabinetry out of our kitchen and destroy the wall in our kitchen to get to it. And I decided to roll the dice, and I was like, just leave that, replace everything else. Anyways, so yeah, like a week ago, Elizabeth heard a drip, and it's coming from where that copper elbow joint is. And I can only imagine that I shouldn't have rolled the dice. I should have just, but I'm trying not to. We are not having a knee jerk reaction this time. We're going to do it a little bit smarter. I'm formulating a plan. But yeah, we've had to go to your parents' house to shower. I've had to shower at the gym. It's just the toilets upstairs, the toilets in the shower and the sinks on our second floor, what funneled down through that elbow joint. And so it's just like we can use laundry. Our laundry's on the second floor, which is, I know, is odd for most people, but like that's a different piping source. So thank God we have a third toilet on the first floor, I guess.
Given the misery that you're in, should we share how we escape from these things?
Yes. So this here, if you clicked on this is a book podcast, not a Dave Matthews Band podcast or a mushroom foraging podcast. This is a book podcast, and we recently read part 3 of House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J. Maas. We finished the available Crescent City series books. Okay, so getting back on track, we finished part 3. What is the vibe check with the Crescent City series?
I need book 4. Like I need it. Like I got a resolution, and I know that she just posted that she finished drafts of some books. I hope it's book 4, because listen, I don't need to hear more about Elaine. I don't need to hear more about some of the other characters. I need Bryce.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. We haven't got there yet. I do think that the ACOTAR news is significant. Whether you think it's 6 through 8, or you think it's 6 with an arrow, or you think it was ACOTAR 6 to some word mark, I think it's very cool that we're gonna get ACOTAR. Insofar as House of Flame and Shadow definitely set up the connection between Crescent City and Prithian, and I don't know how you fully move forward in the ACOTAR series without pulling in the multiverse.
Yep.
So even if it's Prithian focused, I think we'll get more somehow, and I'm looking forward to that. We need to recap part 3, but we also need to thank today's sponsor. Who is that?
Right. So let me ask you some questions to help set the stage, okay? Do you have the opposite of a foot fetish? But do you still want your wife's feet to look good?
Of course.
Maybe you want to post them on the internet for others that don't have a foot fetish but still like feet.
I mean, sure, yeah. Maybe.
Or maybe you constantly have sweaty, stinky hobbit feet.
I mean, I do work out a lot.
Or maybe you just want your feet to feel more comfortable, maybe a little fuzzier, way less blisters.
Well, I mean, yes to the warm and fuzzy vibes in my feet. Where are we going, Becca?
Today's sponsor can solve all of the scenarios I just mentioned and more. That's right. Looking to put your feet online on oldie socks or even wiki socks? Or maybe just want to contain some of that foot stink? Maybe you just want some cozy feet by the fire. In any case, all you need is some wool socks.
Wool socks? Hold up. We're in the middle of the summer. It's hotter than hell outside.
Temperature doesn't matter. Wool socks go great any time of the year. And take it from me, they can save your marriage. Head to woolsocksbybecca.com to order yours today. But like, seriously, transition over to wool socks. So people always think of like your thick wool socks that you use for hiking. Those are great. Those are wonderful. They make really thin, wafer thin socks that are wool. And then you can wear them for 24 hours without them stinking like all of your synthetic materials do.
Do they ever get to the point where they retain smell, like you've had the socks for years? Or does wool just like not do that? I don't know.
Doesn't really do that. And like, if you wash wool the way that's directed, which is honestly a pretty low key, like, we wash ours in cold water in the washing machine, which is maybe not the best, and then you just let it air dry. But I've seen people like, you just throw it in the snow to like help freshen up the wool, just with how like wool is made and whatnot. But anywho, I just dropped some massive cash on some wool socks because I'm really tired of my synthetic ones and it's time for an upgrade.
What is the price difference like? I mean,
big.
is it big?
One pair of wool socks on sale is $13. And that's how I know that I've gone off the deep end, because I now really need expensive socks. No, honey, I do not need that beautiful purse from that designer brand. No. I need wool socks.
Make some wool socks. If any of our listeners have any opinions on wool socks, I would love to hear them, because this is the first time being teased about wool socks. So if you would like to join the conversation about wool socks or Dave Matthews Band or mushrooms or pipe leaks or hell, maybe even a book, you can feel free to leave us a comment. You could give us a review. You could send us an email. We are bookclubbybecca@gmail.com, or you could reach us on Instagram at Becca's Book Club Adventure. Hopefully we hear from you about books or other things. I'm game to make some friends.
Is that how we make friends on the internet now?
I think so. Okay, I think it's story time. So, what happened in part 3?
We are in for a saga. So we're going to open up on a fishing boat manned by a shark shifter crew for funsies. Ethan and Hypaxia sail to Avalon and reclaim Sophie's body. They quickly discover that Sophie's body is no more and that Bryce and company now rule Avalon.
So instead, they essentially turn right back around and head back to Crescent City to create an antidote to the Asteri's parasite that infects the water, because Bryce was like, please.
And of course, Hypaxia finds a temporary antidote really quickly and makes Ethan test it on himself. And it works.
After blacking out, he wakes up and is like super wolf, right? Enhanced senses, enhanced strength, enhanced shifting speed. Oh, and he now has elemental magic and can control snow or ice or whatever.
Sounds lovely. I would make it snow right now if I could. With this change, Ethan is determined to go to the den and inform them of the truth. Despite Jesiba telling him not to, he goes anyway. And he comes back as the Prime.
While Ethan is in the middle of explaining the truth to the den, Sabine appears with the astronomer and Sigrid. Sabine defames Ethan, because that's what we do, and declares Sigrid as her heir. As
Heir?
It's heir, but like I think the British pronounce it hair. I've listened to too much stuff on social media. Sigrid is now next in line, which pisses Emily off. But the Prime appears and decides to back up everything Ethan had said and names Ethan as his heir.
And Sabine freaks out and kills her father. And then Sigrid proceeds to eat his soul. And then she decides she's not done, so she whips around and gets the astronomer as Sabine attacks Ethan. But Ethan's newfound abilities overwhelm Sabine, and he ends her. Sigrid disappears, but Ethan is declared Prime of the Valibrand Wolves.
Maybe something that we should have mentioned, in case you have forgotten from part 2. Sigrid is a Reaper, hence the soul eating. Meanwhile, Bryce and co. split up to begin a quest to save the world, because, yeah, that's Bryce.
While Byaxin stays and assumes control of Avalon, Bryce and her parents and Hunt head up to the Arctic Circle to open up the Northern Rift for help. But instead, they open a portal to Perinthian, where Bryce negotiates with Nesta.
Nesta gives Bryce the mask. And in return, as collateral, Bryce gives Nesta her parents. And the plan is to do another swapsies, when the world is saved and Bryce no longer needs the mask.
And as the portal closes, the harpy comes out of the snow, and then Isaiah, Naomi, and Celestina arrive. So the harpy popping out gave me massive Disney Mulan vibes.
Yes. It did. Me too. All she needed to do was grab a doll on the snow. Okay, so caught between so many enemies, Bryce ad-libs and puts on the mask. And because she can now like command death or whatever, she simply asks the harpy to die. And the harpy does.
Hunt becomes enraged by the betrayal of Celestina and blasts through his halo and Isaiah's halo and then proceeds to attack Celestina. Bryce manages to talk him down because her plans need Isaiah, Naomi, and Celestina to succeed.
After placating Hunt, Bryce opens the rift to hell and welcomes Prince Adis back to Midgard.
Under the Istros, Therion and Sathia are granted a contentious audience with the River Queen.
Despite being interrupted by the River Queen's daughter's tearful tantrum, that's a mouthful, Therion is somehow able to prove himself and his good intentions, which means that the Blue Court will begin offering asylum for the citizens of Crescent City.
Across the river in the sewers of Crescent City, Rune, Lydia, Declan, and Flynn pursue a pointless search for Isaiah and Naomi. As they're figuring out a new plan, Lydia gets word from the depth charger. Pollux has taken her sons.
All right, so new Wolf Prime Ethan and Hypaxia use death marks to sail to a meeting with the Underking because Ethan is kind of sort of a whiny crybaby. He needs to see his dead brother. But the trip doesn't exactly go as planned.
When the Underking cuts off the Ethan meeting with Connor, Ethan becomes enraged and uses his snow to freeze the Underking solid. Then Hypaxia smashes him into 1,000 bits. And Jesiba shows up and goes, "Congratulations, Hypaxia. You are now the head of House in Flame and Shadow."
Yep. And if you didn't think that was enough, in the aftermath of that, Connor decides to give Ethan a bullet made of death marks that contains the second light of all the souls in the Bone Quarter, and instructs instructs Ethan to get that bullet and the Godslayer rifle to Bryce.
Not even halfway through the park. In the Eternal City, Rune, Lydia, Declan, Flynn, Bryce, and Hunt are ready to unleash hell. Quite literally.
They broadcast a video to all of Pangea exposing the truth about the Asteri before they break into the palace, while Flynn and Declan run remote interference and plan the getaway.
Once inside, Hunt and Bryce head to the throne room where Bryce puts on the masks and raises the fallen. Regulus appears just as the armies of hell begin their attack outside of the city.
Rather than confront Regulus, Bryce teleports herself and Hunt to the front lines of the battle, where Bryce ends up taking out one of the other Asteri using the Star Sword and Dagger as Adis, Apollyon, and Thanatos engage the other remaining Asteri minus Regulus in battle.
As Therion swims for the Asteri's palace, Rune and Lydia frantically search for her sons. After locating them under the palace where the First Light Core is, Rune calls Bryce and Hunt for backup as he faces down Pollux.
Therion runs into Lydia and gives her one of the antidotes, which she takes. They creep towards Pollux and her sons, and she unleashes Agent Daybright upon him. An unceasing, alive inferno of flame. It's so cool. And she easily incinerates Pollux.
Like that. Her sons safe and Pollux dead, Lydia runs off into the battlefield where she is joined by the fire sprites, and together they begin to burn it all down.
Therion gives Rune the last of the antidotes, which unlocks healing powers. Rune has healing powers now. And he's able to save the shot and dying Therion. Yeah, Therion got shot, by the way. On their way out of the palace, they meet Ethan as he's sprinting into the palace, frantically trying to get to Bryce with the second light bullet and the Godslayer rifle.
Near the First Light Core, Bryce and Hunt run into Regulus, and the three begin to dance. Bryce teleports with Hunt from spot to spot so Regulus can't hurt them, and Hunt sends lightning at the first core each time they teleport.
Bryce eventually gets tired and teleports them away completely. And wouldn't you know it, they teleport right into where Ethan is, and he hands over the Godslayer rifle on the second light bullet. And so Bryce, alone, decides to head back to Regulus and the other 3 remaining Asteri.
The Asteri inform her that destroying the core will also destroy Midgard itself. Always quick on her feet, Bryce fires the bullet into the core and uses the horn to open up the portal to outer space and the black hole, sending the core and the Asteri through it before being sucked in herself by the imploding palace.
Aided by Adis and Apollyon, Hunt jumps into a mech suit, which happens to also contain the soul of Shahar, puts on the mask that Bryce gave him for safekeeping, and pulls a Fast and Furious 9 move and jumps into the portal and brings Bryce back from outer space. But she's frozen and very much not alive anymore.
Thank heavens, Hypaxia is on the scene along with Jesiba. In a very Dumbledore, Harry Potter on the platform 9 3/4 move, Jesiba trades her life and immortality to save Bryce and bring her back from Midgard.
All right, so the Asteri may be gone and Midgard saved, but in the aftermath, the pieces need to be picked up and the loose ends need to be tied off.
Hypaxia and Celestina begin to make inroads with their relationship once again.
Bryce and Hunt retrieve her parents and give the mask back to Nesta and ask Cassian to give Azrael Truth Teller back. And Bryce gives Nesta the Star Sword.
Lydia reunites with her sons and their dads in a loving, heartfelt goodbye that also points towards a future between sons and mother.
The armies of hell march back to hell. Yeah, I read that right. The armies of hell march back to hell through the Northern Rift, leaving Midgard completely, and Bryce seals the rift for good.
Therion goes to the meat market in search of Sathia, but meets Adrian instead and gives us an interesting cliffhanger.
Bryce formally and legally announces the dissolution of all Fae royalty and donates their residences and money to help rebuild Asphodel Meadows and house the displaced humans.
Lydia and Rune move into an apartment below Bryce, complete with a guest room for her sons to visit, and vow to figure out how to have a normal life together.
Hypaxia partners with Redner Industries to mass produce the antidote, which Bryce and Hunt took.
Bryce begins opening up a new version of Griffin Antiquities with the help of Sasa, Riti, and Melania, the fire sprites. It'll never replace Liaba, but it's a start.
Oh, and Pegasuses are back on Avalon, and Baxian is freaking out about what to do with it.
So we've got some looming questions.
Yeah, what's going to happen when the First Light runs out?
Can an alternative to First Light be found, or will Midgard revert into something closer to Perithian?
Who will try to grab power in the immediate absence of the Asteri?
Can a new government be built before that happens?
And will our main characters have a happy ever after? I guess we'll have to wait for the next installment of Crescent City to find out.
What a whirlwind.
Yes, what a whirlwind. So I think we'll have a different episode to kind of talk about our feelings on the book and the series as a whole. So it's always hard to finish a book and be like, let's just focus on this part. So I guess wolves. Let's start with the wolves. I know that we had theorized that Ithan was going to become the Prime or whatever. But like, did you see how Sabine was going to end up?
It's wild.
Was that was crazy, right?
Yeah. I mean, she had to go. She had to die. I think Ithan would do it. Not that he couldn't do it, but I kind of thought maybe the Prime would kill his daughter.
So I was hoping the Prime was going to have like kind of a return to power, not just a lucid moment.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Speaking of which, his end shocked me.
Yeah. Yeah. Because then Ithan is like, oh, I guess we don't need to do a sailing for him because there is no soul to sail. It's rough.
So, do you think that the wolves are actually going to follow him after everything? I mean, like, Emily is a pill.
Nah, I think there's going to be fractions. I think it's going to fall.
I agree with you. I think that's going to be the crux of the future books. So, I just got done editing the video for Crescent City Part 1. And in there, we we are both a little bit miffed at Therion. You know, he was like interesting and endearing in book 1 and 2, and then by book 3 we're just like, screw this guy. But after he kind of marries Sathya, um, and they go to the Blue Court and they, have some more time on page together, is what do you think of Therion now?
I think I need more to decide, because I do think some of his points have now been a little redeeming, and he's a lot less annoying in this part because he's not making idiotic decisions every turn. But then also part of me is like a little irritated that, like, oh, you decided to jump up and marry this person to save them from a terrible fate, and now you're making good decisions because you have a partner? That can't be the only reason.
It was a little bit too fast of a redemption for his. When I say character, I mean like his personality, not his character in the books, but like who he is. It was a little bit too fast of a redemption. But I guess, like, what do you think of Sathya?
She's painted in an interesting picture when we get to meet her as Flynn's youngest sister, or younger sister, as this very spirited young person who won't do what her elders are asking of her. But then when Therion and her meet the River Queen, she is everything that is a princess and is a very strong political figure, makes the right commentary to move the things right forward. So you can tell, like, obviously the whole time she was listening as she was doing things against their recommendations. So there's one part of you that's like, I kind of love this. And then there's another part of you that's like, I don't know that your story has been fully shared.
No, definitely not. It's definitely a little bit like Bryce. Mm-hmm. Because when we meet Bryce in book 1, she's just a party girl with a job that she doesn't want to go to. But then she's like playing 5D chess while everybody else is playing checkers. Mm-hmm. Okay, so obviously Sathya like leaves Therion to go save somebody in the Viper Queen's den. But do you think that there's love between those two? Do you think there's a hope for them to be a successful couple in the future?
I think they have the capability to create a love that they have not yet found.
Okay. I do too. I'm actually kind of hopeful for it. Where do you think Sathya's story goes?
I think it's going to get somehow lumped into this government rebuild that we're going to be getting, because the Fae obviously were third on the rung, right? You had the Asteri, you had the crazy angels, and then it sounds like you had the Fae. And so the crazy angels, there aren't that many of them. They can probably be hunted. We'll be good there. But then the question will then become the Fae, and how will they regroup, and if they will regroup, because Bryce has also hunted down some figures. And she has no interest being queen, but she's been shoved into this corner. So will there be separations of the Faes that create delegations in this government that's maybe set up in more of a democracy-like setting? And I think she will have some type of representative role in that.
Okay, I have thoughts on Therion and Sathya, but before I get to those thoughts, one of the cliffhangers that we're left on. So we're left on a couple of cliffhangers. The first one is Bryce essentially becoming the next Jesiba with Griffin Antiquities and everything. But then Sathya running off to go to the meat market and free her ex-boyfriend or whatever. Therion having all these warm, tingly feelings for Sathya, which he'd never had warm, tingly feelings for anybody. But then Therion running into the dragon shifter out of nowhere. She was just hanging out in the meat market. So I have questions about what happened to her, because why is she in the meat market right now at the end of the book, given that we're all led to believe that she was traded away, whatever that might mean. And she tells Therion that he must be really stupid for coming back, which means she knows what's going on, which leads you to believe that she's been there the entire time. So thoughts on Ariadne or Adrian?
I don't think I have complex thoughts on this, honestly. I think I just am genuinely interested. Where is the Viper Queen, right? That's the other question in this. Like, where does she disappear to? We don't get anything from her at this, other than that she's angry. And then we hear that she's still angry, essentially, from Ariandra. So,
I got to be honest with you. I'm a little bit disappointed that these are the only cliffhangers we get, because it sets you up that the coming books are going to be focused on Therion and the Dragon Shifter and the meat market. And I think those were some of my least favorite parts of the series. Notice I'm not lumping the Viper Queen in there because I love the Viper Queen. But
yeah.
okay. I'm sure we'll talk about more of that where we talk about where book 4 is going to go and stuff. But other things that happened. So the Underking died. That was out of left field.
Yeah. And so here's what I don't understand. So the Underking is kind of painted as this being that cannot leave the underworld, but then is the head of the house for Flame and Shadows, which has an upper world area where people hang out in it. And now we have Hypaxia, who's in charge of this. Is she going to be stuck in the underworld? Or is she going to be able to go back and forth, which the Underking was never able to do?
I think she's going to be able to go back and forth. And the reason is that she comes from the world, whereas the Underking came from, I think his words were, he came from the void.
Touche.
And so if you, as the Underking, never fully existed in the real world, like that might be the limiting factor there. When Hypaxia becomes head of House of Flame and Shadow, since you brought that up, how much do you think that was happenstance, and how much do you think that was orchestrated by Jesiba?
100% orchestrated by Jesiba. She's like, all right, I got my plan. I'm going to get out. I'm going to give Bryce all of my stuff. All right, so if I'm out, then the Underking's out too. And who am I going to put in charge of this household?
I'm upset about Jesiba. She's the best character in this entire series. Maybe not like lead character. I can get that. But she was the thing I was the most curious about. She was always the thing I wanted more of. And now she's gone. Gone. I don't know how many episodes you and I were like, where are Jesiba? Where can we get more Jesiba? When's Jessica coming back? And she was always in our predictions for what's happening in the next part or the next book. We got more of her, and she's gone.
But is she? So we've gotten a lot about Danica these past 3 books, despite her only being alive for 20 pages. Are we going to learn more about Jesiba as Bryce unpacks all of her new things that she owns?
That depends on. This is gonna be sad. That depends on if Bryce is a character anymore, or does she go the way of Feyre?
I hated Feyre's heading. I hated it.
Like, I get it from an author standpoint, right? You explored this character. There's no more depths to plunge, right? And I think that's what she did with Feyre. I think that's what SJM did with Feyre, and it was time to move on. And because Bryce's story was tied up in such a nice circular bow, it makes me feel like Bryce is going to become a background character in future books, and I'm saddened by that. If she does become a background character, who is going to be thinking about or bringing up or discovering new stuff about Jesiba in future novels? Hypaxia? Ithan? Surely it's not going to be Therion and the Dragon Shifter.
I don't know.
I like your idea. I want her to become the next version of Danica. I think she needs to stay. She is the most interesting. She is our link to the past and our link to the future because of her vision for the world. She's a link to hell. She's the glue that sticks everything together. And what did you think of her Dumbledore moment?
So I'm going to back up that moment a little bit more to while Bryce was in the void with them. It gave me major flashbacks to Aylin's little dream sequence where she was trying to consult the old powers that be And you and I were both like, why are we having a dream sequence? So this felt more authentic to me, that we were kind of in a void, but it felt like a very similar writing tactic to get to that moment. It felt very celestial in regards to, like, you couldn't really place things that didn't make full sense or whatever. But yeah, that moment also then, because it was linked to that and I was thinking of the dream sequence, I was like, this feels like a ploy that I don't like.
I didn't think of the Throne of Glass stuff. I 100% thought of when Voldemort kills Harry and he wakes up on platform 9 and 3/4 and sits and talks to Dumbledore, and Dumbledore's like, "You can go back, Harry." And that's the kind of vibe it gave me. I guess I wish we would have gotten more of Jesiba.
Yeah.
I think that's where my heart is. But let's move on to some exciting stuff. Okay. Big, huge battle outside of the Eternal City. I want to know what you thought of the battle, because on one side we have the Asteri, like, and their Imperial Guard or whatever. On the other side we have Hell and reanimated angel spirits. And mech suits. What did you think of this entire battle? The beginning where it was just the two sides against each other, and then they take over the mech suits. Lydia, the Hind, comes out and just burns it all down. Like, what? Okay, what are your thoughts on the battle scene?
I think we need to give major props to her for her ability to write battle scenes where you know what is going on. You can actually picture things. Because, like, sometimes I love Lord of the Rings. I cannot read the books to save my life. Maybe that'll change one day. And I watch the movies and I watch those battle scenes and I'm like, listen, if Legolas isn't in it, I don't know what's going on. So massive props to her for her attention to detail without overwhelming amount of detail that makes you know what's going on. And also, Agent Daybright.
I wish we would have gotten a little bit more, like, scope of how big it was, but I think that's my only criticism. I like how she had some plot twists, right? And, like, what was it? Declan hacked the mech suits and had them, like, turn on their masters. I thought that was really, really good. I liked the Princes of Hell fighting the Asteri, because in too many other stories. Oh, actually, in ACOTAR, when the King of Hybern just unleashes the cauldron and, like, disappears 15,000 soldiers at a time, I didn't want that to happen with the Asteri, so I'm really glad that it didn't. And then I agree with you 1000%. Lydia Servos is got to be the coolest, most badass bitch ever. And I like how we got the explanation of Daybright and how she always had the firepower, and then the antidote just, like, gave her steroids for it.
Yes.
Super cool. I also like how she combined forces with the fire sprites and they all came back. I thought that was a really good full circle moment to Jesiba. It made me cry a little bit. One thing I didn't like about the battle is that when the Asteri went through the black hole or whatever, the battle was just seemingly over. And I'm here to tell you that that's not how battles happen.
No. I also thought it would have been better if we had killed a few more Asteri before we just suddenly had them all sucked into the void. Like, we had the one, it would have been better considering I think we had 7 total to begin with. One was already dead, the one we killed again. Maybe like 2 or 3 more had died before we sucked Regulus into the void.
I see. I don't think Regulus should have been sucked into the black hole. I think Bryce should have ended him.
Yeah.
I think that would have been sweet, sweet justice. And then you just suck the no-name idiots into the black hole.
Yeah. So, like, Hunt coming to save her in a mech suit felt very like, yeah, I
Extra.
get it, but why?
Yeah, that whole, okay, it was very Fast and Furious 9 to me. And the fact that it was, like, Shahar giving her soul was too extra for me. It came out of, there wasn't enough lead up to it being that meaningful for the reader. I get it for Hunt,
Yeah. Yeah.
but for us,
And maybe for Sarah while she's writing it, but
it was a little too circular. I know I have some notes here about like Maas verse revelations. I think I would actually like to save those for when we talk about the entire book and the series and stuff.
I was going to make that recommendation.
Okay.
I think we've got nothing less before we talk about the whole book.
Yeah, I think I only have one two-part question that can kind of sum up part 3 for us. Do you have a favorite part of part 3, and do you have a least favorite part of part 3?
I'm gonna go with my least favorite is the discussion with the River Queen, because I don't really know where that was going or what we really learned for future from that. Other than we took people. Favorite part? I think that's kind of hard.
It is very hard.
What's yours?
I have a tie between some things. So my least favorite part is also the River Queen episode with Therion and how they hate each other and then just they're cool. And the River Queen is actually a good person.
Yeah.
Nope, screw her. Also, the fact that the Blue Court takes in Crescent City people in Asylum doesn't matter. It is literally never talked about again. There is 0 point to Therion going beneath. Somebody prove me wrong. But my favorite part, I am tied between Lydia lighting up the battlefield as Agent Daybright. And I think the thing that gave me the most warm and fuzzies was Bryce at the end opening a new version of Griffin Antiquities. And she has 3 fire sprites that are all watching trashy TV on a tablet. And like it's very full circle, and that gave me all the feels.
I'll give you another one that is top tier for me is when Bryce goes back to collect her parents from Nesta, and Nesta and the parents have bonded significantly. And the parents are almost like, do we want to leave? We have a new daughter. We have 2 daughters. We want both our daughters in the same world.
That was really good. That was really good. Feel good. And they were cool with Cassian too. I thought that was cool. You're right. That was good.
Well,
yeah. So part 3 complete, book 3 complete, Crescent City so far complete. And we don't have anything to put a bookmark in. The book's done. So we will be back in another episode to talk about what we thought of the entirety of House of Flame and Shadow, how we feel about Crescent City as a whole, and until next time.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.